Have you ever picked up a copy of the newspaper and had to answer 10 multiple choice questions about the main story? This probably hasn't happened to you because normally when we read for fun, we usually do not have to answer questions. On the other hand, have you ever completely understood the story on a test but answered many of the questions incorrectly? Now, this may have happened to you. Being a good reader does not always make a great test taker. So today we're going to talk about our differences when we read for fun and when we read to take a test. Our learning target for today is as followed. Reading to take a test requires skills and strategies that are quite different from the ongoing reading we do every day. So when I read my independent reading book and when I read a test, I'm going to use different skills and strategies. So first, let's talk about the word genre. Genre is a literary work that has characteristic, form, or technique. There are two genres that you're probably really familiar with, and those would be fiction and nonfiction. Within fiction and nonfiction, we have some more genres. I'd like for you to go ahead and pause the video and try to brainstorm at least one genre within each fiction and another genre within nonfiction. Please restart the video once you've done this. Some genres that you may have come up with within fiction would be historical, fantasy, or suspense. Within nonfiction, you may have thought about biography, memoir, or a recipe. Now, when reading any genre, your purpose, process, and strategy may differ. So, for example, if I am reading a recipe, my purpose is probably much different than reading a fantasy. For a recipe, I'm probably reading to do something. With a fantasy, I'm probably reading for entertainment. Therefore, the process that I read both of those are going to look different. In a recipe, I may have to reread many times to make sure that I'm following the directions correctly. Fantasy, I may only reread when I come to a spot where I'm confused or a word that I do not know. We need to remember that test taking is also a genre. So this means that tests have certain forms and characteristics. Also, when reading on a test, our purpose, process, and strategies may differ. So for example, when I'm reading in my independent reading book, then when I'm reading the test, my purpose, process, and strategies are going to look different. So let's talk about how they may look different right now. What I'd like for you to do is pause the video and draw the chart that you see on the screen. Then I'd like for you to come up with how are some ways that reading for fun is different than reading for a test, and how may they be similar. Again, I want you thinking about the purpose, process, and strategies. Please restart the video once you've brainstormed some different ideas. When I read for fun, I typically, it's a choice or it's for my entertainment. When I'm reading for a test, I usually don't really have a choice. I have to answer questions to show what I know. When I read for fun, I can do it within my own time frame. So if I'm really busy, I may only have 5 minutes to read. But if I have extra time, I may be able to read for a few hours. When I'm taking a test, I have a certain time frame that I have to complete the test within. When I read for fun, if I don't enjoy the reading, I can abandon the book. Reading for a test, I can't really abandon it. The learning needs to be assessed, so therefore I need to complete the test. Now, how are the two similar? Well, in both of them, I use reading strategies, and in both of them, the author has a purpose for creating. But again, the strategies that I use are probably going to be different if I'm reading for fun or reading for a test. And then the purpose that the author created will be different in an independent reading book than it would be for a test. What you are now going to do is you are going to practice reading a test. There will be 3 important items to remember when reading the test that you will practice in the stations. You may begin your station now.